So Aston Villa dominate Nottingham Forest in the second leg of the Europa League semi-final, and they beat them 4-0. Utterly convincing, well-deserved win from Aston Villa. I feel like every single player on that pitch for Aston Villa did their part, and to be fair, Nottingham Forest, after winning the first leg 1-0, they just did not show up at all, and you could tell from the start Villa were up for this game. Obviously their game against Tottenham, I thought that game against Tottenham was an absolute disgrace in front of their home fans, the way they came out sluggish, but you could tell that their minds were on this game. Everything was riding on this game, because even though they are in that top 4 race in the Premier League, they want this trophy, you know what I'm saying? You know, Unai Emery, this is his trophy, you know he wants this trophy, so you know that he would have had his players fired up for this, and you could tell from the very start that they were up for it. They were pressing, they were aggressive. To be fair, Nottingham Forest, I feel like first 15-20 were alright, you know, they were weathering the storm. I feel like both teams today played out of pressure very well. There was a few times Nottingham Forest at the back, you were like, oh, could they lose it? But they played nice triangles well to get out of a press. Same with Aston Villa in the first half. They played well to get out of the press. However, you could tell Villa sort of had that edge on Nottingham Forest. When I saw the lineup before the game, I did feel like Nottingham Forest could struggle to generate chances, simply because I felt like even though they went with the two up front with Chris Wood and Igor Jesus, I just felt like there was a lack of legs and a lack of threat, because in an environment like Villa Park, when you're 1-0 up, it was always going to go this way. The game was always going to be a case of, yo, Aston Villa are going to have a lot of the ball, Nottingham Forest are going to have to sit off and break and play on the counter-attack. The only problem for Forest is that I did not feel like they had the players, the personnel to actually hurt Aston Villa on the counter-attack. You know, you look at a guy like Chris Wood, he doesn't really have the legs to hurt Villa on their counter-attack. You look at a guy like Igor Jesus, he was playing in behind him. Maybe if Igor Jesus was the furthest man, maybe you could see, alright, cool, maybe he has a bit of pace in behind. Hutchinson, he's a very good player, but he wants the ball to feet. He had a great chance as well, cutting on his left, just wide of the post. He's a great player, but he wants the ball to feet. James McAtee, former Man City player, he was very good in the first half, very technical, very sound, very calm on the ball, but again, he's a player, he wants the ball to feet. So I didn't feel like they had that player to, you know, sort of stretch the pitch, sort of cause Villa any problems, which allowed the Villa defence to sort of step up, because they weren't really afraid of anyone. Because when you have guys like Morgan Gibbs-White out injured, Taiwo Awoniyi injured, Callum Hudson-Odoi injured, even Ola Aina, who's an attacking right back who likes to get forward, there wasn't really anyone who could really hurt Aston Villa today. So Nottingham Forest best chance in my opinion was to just pray that they could hold the lead, you know what I'm saying? Pray that they could come out of Villa Park with a clean sheet, but that was very unlikely, and the breakthrough came with a beautiful bit of skill by Emi Buendia, who was brilliant on and off the ball. Just goes past the right back, goes past Anderson slips. To be fair, a lot of players were slipping in this game. I don't know what was wrong with the pitch. Maybe they put too much water. But brilliant skill from Emi Buendia. And he just has the composure. Just to wait that slight second to play the ball across with his left foot. And then Ollie Watkins was there to tap it in. After Ollie Watkins took a bang to the head. A mean bang to the head, to be fair. When him and the Forest centre-back collided. But yeah, that kind of reminded me of Kvaratskhelia one yesterday, where they both got to the byline. They didn't just put it in blindly. They didn't just put their head down and drill it across. They sort of waited that split second more just to find their man, and he passed it into Watkins, and it was 1-0. They got the ball, they got the goal, you know, maybe 10 minutes before half time, went into half time, and you could tell how the game was going to go, you know what I'm saying? In the first half, I feel like the gamble by Vitor Pereira to play two up top, it wasn't working. Villa, so many triangles in the middle of the park, you know. Anderson and Dominguez, they were getting overrun, because Villa were almost playing this box. They were playing a box with, it was Tielemans, it was Buendia, it was Lindelof, and it was Morgan Rogers was coming in to receive the ball. So in the midfield, they just overloaded. They just overloaded Nottingham Forest, and it was too much for them to handle. And yeah, Villa went into the break 1-0 up, and yeah, they were very happy, and I could see from the start where this game was going. But then Forest did make the change. They did bring on Ryan Yates to sort of shore that midfield, condense the midfield, because obviously Pereira saw that, yo, they were getting bopped in that midfield. However, once again, the concern for me before the game was, I wasn't even concerned about Nottingham Forest defensively. I was concerned with them going forward. Who did they really have to sort of hurt Aston Villa. In the first half, they had one chance through Amari Hutchinson. Second half, they brought on Yates, who's a less attacking player than McAtee, and guess what the result was? They literally had 0 shots. They had 0 real clear chances, in my opinion. They didn't really have anything. Villa, on the other hand, this is where they took over. They absolutely blew Nottingham Forest away. That second half they probably came out even more aggressive in the second than they did the first. Just absolutely, just relentless pressing. Every single second ball Aston Villa won. Every time it looked like a Villa player was on the ball and he was about to lose it, they somehow just had the tenacity just to hold on to the ball and just keep on playing. There was one where I think John McGinn was on the ground. You're thinking, alright, cool, he's on the ground, surely a Forest player is going to pick it up. He's on the ground, but he somehow just manages to kick it while on the ground into Morgan Rogers' path for a counter-attack. It was just one of them games. Every single second ball, I feel like McGinn put on a masterclass. He was absolutely ridiculous. He's a weird footballer. He's a weird footballer, man, but he's so good. Like, he's so quick. He's so strong. Once he puts his bum in the way, you're not getting there. You know what I'm saying? Once he puts his bum in the way, you can't get the ball off him. I feel like Tielemans was very, very good. I feel like he was one of the players against Spurs who was terrible, but he was very, very good today. Morgan Rogers, not his best game, but he had moments. He did his thing. Lindelof stepping into midfield, he was comfortable. You know what I'm saying? He's always been a ball playing centre back, a guy who's very, very comfortable. Cash and Digne, they did their jobs as well. Pau Torres did his job extremely fine too, and Pau Torres, he actually won the penalty for the second goal. He won the penalty for Buendia's goal. I don't know what Milinkovic was doing there. It was just such a silly foul to give away. Torres, he's facing away from the goal. Torres is already falling over. He's not getting to the ball. I don't know why you just pull him. Sort of like Gusto's one against Nottingham Forest. Ironically, sort of just, it's such a bait pull. You know what I'm saying? It's such an obvious pull. I don't know why he did that. There was no danger, but Buendia stepped up, tucked it into the corner. Very, very confident. You could see from the run-up, short run-up, but you could tell he was confident, you know what I'm saying? Just passed it into the goal, and that was 2-0 Villa. And as soon as Villa went up 2-0, I was like, alright, cool, this tie is done. Forest aren't scoring today, you know what I'm saying? I don't care who they bring on. I'm looking at their bench. It didn't matter who they brought on. But then, obviously, it just went from bad to worse for Nottingham Forest because, yeah, the next goal, long ball gets played over the top. Morgan Rogers chests it down into Ollie Watkins, Watkins into John McGinn, and John McGinn just passed it into the back of the net. And I've seen him do that so many times that when it was coming onto it, I just knew it was cash money. That's John McGinn range right there. That's cash money. Like, just passed it into the far corner, and then 3-0, that's the game done. But then shortly after, hey man, he did it again. This time went for this near post, opened up his body, gave the keeper the eyes as if he was going to do the same thing, but just whipped it back into that near post. And yeah, Villa Park just exploded. Crowd went wild. 4-0 Aston Villa. Convincing performance from Aston Villa. This is the performance that they needed, man. Especially after that Spurs game. A few Villa fans might have been worried, might have been scared of like, oh, is this how they're going to come out against Nottingham Forest? But nah, today they were seriously on it, you know what I'm saying? They were seriously on it, and they deserve to win. And now they're going to play Freiburg in the fight. They're going to play Freiburg in that final, and I back them to beat Freiburg, to be fair. And let me not even lie, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know the level of opposition, I know the quality of Freiburg, because I don't. I just haven't watched Freiburg at all this season. But I feel like Villa do have enough, you know what I'm saying? I feel like Villa do have enough to go on and win this final. And obviously their X factor is Unai Emery. He's a general in this competition. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. So yeah, I back Villa. What a performance from Aston Villa. But for Nottingham Forest, hey man, they did well to get to this point. They were unfortunate. A lot of players injured, you know. Gibbs White, you saw Gibbs White on the bench, face just looking deformed. It was crazy. Face looking deformed, looking like, I don't even know, looking like Dracula. Unfortunately, he could have played. He would have made a difference. Obviously, I mentioned Hudson-Odoi and Awoniyi. They would have made a difference as well. So, Forest, shout out to Forest for making it this far, but they did have injuries today, and some of the guys on the pitch just simply didn't show up, you know. Igor Jesus and Chris Wood struggled to hold up the ball. When the ball did get played into them, Pau Torres and Ezri Konsa were just cleaning up, you know what I'm saying, just absolutely cleaning up. Martinez didn't really have anything to do, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, Villa, that box midfield really works for them. They were dominating in there. Tielemans, Buendia, McGinn, Rogers, all of them just playing very well. Ollie Watkins, did what Ollie Watkins does, gets into great positions, runs his socks off. His all around game today was very good, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, Forest didn't really have anything. They didn't create any chances, and Villa were just so much better than Forest today, you know. They were so much better than Forest. But for both teams now, they need to look into the Premier League. Forest, they still need to win their game. Still need to win their game just to ensure that they don't even get dragged into that relegation zone. I'm pretty sure Aston Villa have got Burnley away. I'm pretty sure they'd want to win against Burnley, already relegated Burnley, just to ensure that top 5 finish, just to ensure that they win that they get into the Champions League. And Nottingham Forest as well. I'm pretty sure they have Newcastle at home. So Newcastle are a team, they're not fighting for anything. So this will be a good chance for Forest to bounce back, make sure that they cement their Premier League status with that win against Newcastle. It's at the City ground as well, so I do think they'll bounce back from this. I do think they will beat Newcastle. But yeah, that's the game today. 4-0 Aston Villa, thoroughly deserved to go through. And yeah, they will play Freiburg in the final of the Europa League Wednesday, May the 20th.